been doing this for a while, a specific topic within photography. We have a presentation and probably some videos, and we take a look at this. And then we followed up with a show and tell, which for this will be on September 14th, whereby we'll take a chance to use the techniques we discussed now. And it's not a competition. It's just, sharing your photos and explaining how you did it, why you did it. So let me start now. I have a PowerPoint presentation.
Some cold water.
No, good, thanks.
Okay. And we're going to talk about close-up photography, macro photography, and micro photography. We're going to talk about what are the differences between these three things, some examples, equipment that may or may not be needed, some techniques, and then we'll follow this up with each of us will have a chance for the next 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to try out some photography, and then we'll share them all on September 14th. Okay, the differences, I'm going to follow this up with some pictures of, but close-up is not a true definition. You sort of know it when you see it. It's just something, it's a part of something, or it looks closer than you normally see it. Many times we've seen this like with people or grandchildren or something, where you get sort of in their face to take a picture. The main thing we're going to be talking about tonight is macro photography. And true macro photography is a magnification ratio of 1:1. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. In other words, the object being photographed is the same size in real life as it is on the camera sensor. And we'll go into that a little more. And micro photography is a magnification ratio of 15:1. And this is the sort of thing where you see pictures of like blood cells or that sort of thing. Close-up photography. This is 2 examples of close-up photography. A piece of rope, or 2 pieces of rope, I guess it is, and a person. And then micro photography, that's those little things. But what the main thing we'll be looking at now is the macro photography, which is a very interesting subject. Again, going back, that the object is the same size as the sensor on your camera, and need a little explanation of that. For those people who are old enough to remember film, this black is the size of a 35 millimeter piece of film, and this nickel, as you see, is virtually exactly the same, virtually the same size as the film. So you'll see a lot of macro photography is going to be insects and flowers and that sort of small things. So now, this is a full frame sensor. Most of us probably have APS-C, which is about 3/4 of the size of this.
Size of the what would be the negative inside? That's what you have. I have the same thing.
Okay, some macro photography, ladybugs and close-ups of flowers, and you see it can be some very interesting things. These are a couple things I did in my backyard. There's no problem finding bugs to take pictures of. Any questions as we go, just pop in. Again, on equipment, Close-up, you can take whatever your camera is. You don't need any special equipment. You just get a little bit closer to the subject. The macro, we're going to hold discussion for a minute or two. And the micro really takes a microscope. Now, if you're interested in this, there are photo microscopes available on Amazon in the range of $100 to $200. I have no idea how good they are. And personally, I have really very little interest in doing this, so I'm not going to buy one. Macro equipment. You can use virtually any camera with an interchangeable lens. You can buy a dedicated macro lens. They can be anywhere from 30 to 150 millimeters focal length and can range in price from $250 to several $1,000s. The easiest thing I found, for me anyway, is extension tubes. An extension tube is the device that fits between the lens and the body of the camera. And again, they're pretty reasonable, of $25 to $100. And the next thing is a reversing ring. I don't know exactly how this thing works, but essentially what it is you turn your lens around with this special adapter. And lastly, a magnifying filter. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to unshare or stop the sharing of this, and I'm going to show you my equipment, particularly the extension tubes and how it works. So actually, you have to excuse me because I left the camera in the other room.
So what extension tubes, it puts the lens closer to subject
Okay.
because you're putting that between the lens
Between
and the
lens
body.
and- Right.
And I'm going to mute you now.
This is not quite being prepared. The basic camera with a zoom lens on it. And the next thing is an extension tube. The extension tube, you can see through it, it has no glass in it, but it does have the sensors at the bottom there that, focus the camera, etc. To use this extension tube, I take the lens off my camera. So no lens. Take the extension tube.
Claude, could you hold it up a little higher so we could see the camera?
Yeah, actually, if you want to, each of you can change your view to the speaker view and you'll get a bigger picture of me.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
But-
that's great. Yeah.
So I put the extension tube on. Hopefully I put my lens back on. There it is. And now I can focus with this extra width here of the extension tubes. It allows me to focus considerably closer to the object. I don't understand the physics of how that works, but it does work.
Is there a better one than another by brand?
No, I don't think so, really. I mean, there's no glass, so you don't have to worry about the optics of it. There's all different brands, of course. This one is a newer Neewer. I don't know if you can read that, but so I find that this works pretty well for me. Doesn't mean I'm not going to eventually buy a dedicated macro lens, but this is a good place, you know, $20, $25. It's a good place to get started. And they come in different sizes. Actually, this is a double one. It's both a 10 millimeter and a 16 millimeter. I could use either the 10 or the 16 or both of them to get 26. When you're taking macro pictures, you got to get up pretty close to take it to the screen or whatever, to the object. And you'll see on lenses that it focuses to 12 inches, say. Now that 12 inches, take a look at your camera. The top of each camera, there's a little mark, which is, you see that mark?
Yeah.
Okay, that is where the sensor is. So the focusing distance is from the sensor out 12 inches, not the front of the lens. So we'll get into it a little bit, but you can run into a problem of getting too close to things.
Yeah, that happens when I try with my regular zoom lens. You get too close, you can't focus it.
You can't focus, yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, and I would recommend if you want to try macro photography, buy an extension
Well,
tube.
one question, what is the difference between the different lengths of the tubes?
When I talked about a 10 millimeter and 16 millimeter,
Right.
that just helps you to get closer. The higher the numbers are, the closer you can focus. And that's just going to be trial and error for you. And it might be different for different things, you know, if you have a bigger item or a smaller item.
Okay, thank you.
And again, the extension tube, which I saw you, a reversing ring, which I've never used, I doubt if I ever will, essentially turns the lens around with an adapter. And apparently that helps you focus closer. If you want to try that, you're on your own. Macro lenses generally are not zoom lenses. They're fixed, 30 millimeter, 50 millimeters, 100 millimeters. And if you get like a 50 millimeter lens, that's also a fine lens for you just to take normal photography without the macro aspect of it. So it's a more versatile lens. Again, you're going to spend, you know, several hundred to $1,000 or more for that. Try the extension tubes first and see how it goes.
But if you have, most of the zoom lenses has a 50 millimeter spot,
Right.
use that.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can use that, but the difference is the regular zoom lens on your camera, whether it be the kit or whatever it is not a macro lens. It's not going to allow you to focus quite as close. But, you know, by and large, you can get away with it. As you mentioned earlier, focusing can be a problem, and that we'll talk about also in a few minutes. The camera I have is the Sony A7R III. It's a full frame camera. The lens I'm debating on buying is a Sigma 70 millimeter macro lens, $509 on Amazon. It gives you a 1-to-1 macro, which means you can get up very close. The minimum focal distance is 10 inches, And remember, that's 10 inches from the sensor, not the front of the lens. And the lens itself is 4 inches long. Just to get back a minute. Just remember, your sensor is related to the size of the thing. So you get a true macro, it has to fit on there. Now, this picture I took with my normal lens without extension tubes or macro or anything. So you can get down there. I don't know if it's in 100% sharp focus. But it's, you can do a lot with just your regular camera in this regard. And this is what I mentioned before, that the minimum focusing distance is from the sensor in the camera, not the front of the lens. And you do have a mark that you saw. Some other equipment you can think about for macro shooting, a tripod. You know, the picture of the nickel, that's easy, that stays there. If you want a picture of a bug, ladybug or something that's in your backyard, by the time you set your tripod up, the thing has moved, so tripod might not be suitable for that. If you do have a tripod and you have it on, use a cable release so that you're not jerking the camera around, pushing the button there. For lighting, the pop-up flash sometimes causes a shadow. Again, depending on the length of your lens and how close you are, the lens will get in the way of the flash. Again, this is something, try it, see how it works.
How about using a real flash?
Yeah, well, that gets you a little higher up. So yeah, that would be, that would work. Or you can use a ring light, which is a flash that fits on the front of the lens and fills you up. Or depending on what you're doing, you know, if it's something on the tripod, you can just use a flashlight or any other light. Again, a lot of this stuff is you just have to try it and see how it goes. So your macro shooting setup, you got a camera with a macro lens on it, sitting on a tripod, or a funny tripod. Let me just say also that many cell phones have a macro setting. You might want to try that too. Now, a couple of the problems with issues or whatever is the close focusing. If you're getting to something that's, you know, if you're say within 12 inches or so, oftentimes the autofocus really just goes in and out, in and out, in and out. You could try manual focus. Excuse me. And you put it on manual focus and you just do a short burst, you know, 5 to 10 shots, and hopefully one of them will be in focus. Related to that focusing is depth of field. When you get to be, when you get to focusing this close, you have very little depth of field. So you have to pick which part of the object you're focusing on. You know, if it's, say it's a flower, you might have petals going in. Maybe you can get the inside of the petals in focus and not the outside of them. Try not to use the widest open f-stop that you have. Try to get 5, 6, or 8 or 11 if you can, to get a little better depth of field. Another possibility on lighting is, particularly if you're outside, just take a piece of plain white paper and reflect the light onto that object. Now, what are you going to take macro pictures of? I have a couple ideas. Fruits and vegetables. Take them, an orange or a lemon or something like that, and cut it in half and take a picture of the inside. Flowers are easy. Water droplets are possible, and right after a rainstorm. The bubbles in a drink, a carbonated drink in a clear glass. You have the bubbles there. Jewelry, take a picture of your wedding ring or whatever. Buttons, just take a button. I don't know if anybody really has sewing baskets anymore, but I remember at least my mother would add, hundreds of buttons. Nothing ever fit exactly what she wanted, but colorful buttons, an interesting subject. Feathers, you can find them if you have a bird yourself, or just oftentimes can find a feather just laying around. Take a picture of your handwriting. Take a picture of your makeup. This one I haven't tried. The rust or peeling paint. Find a place, maybe like Day Farm across the street, where there's old paint. Get a real close up of that. Might be interesting. Seeds, you can either buy seeds or you can have seeds out of various vegetables. Insects, which I've talked about a few times. The slower the insect moves, the easier it is to take the pictures of them. After our rainstorms, there might be mushrooms or toadstools or whatever around in the grass, possibility. Snowflakes, you're going to have trouble finding this time of year. But if you go to the shore, you're going to find shells on beaches. Try that. Coins, which I already showed you that I tried. Oil and water. Take a cup of water and put a few drops of cooking oil in it, and you get strange patterns. Ice cubes. You can make ice cubes. You could shine light through them, which could be a very interesting idea. You could make colored ice cubes. Just a cup with a little water and food coloring in it. You can make blue ice cubes, and then you shine a light through that, and you might get something very interesting. Kids' toys, Legos or whatever else you have around. Textile and yarn. You take a picture of a piece of yarn that's getting cut off, and maybe loosely thread it. And you can go on the internet. I got these off of a website of something about macro photography, but you could find thousands of ideas. Now, just a brief word about micro. If you want to invest in a microscope, you can buy one on Amazon for about $150. There's a lot of videos around. I'm going to show this first video, my 10 best macro tips, which is interesting. Anyway, I'll show it so you can see what I mean. Now, the next thing is we're going to have the show until September 14th. I don't know if we have interest in like a hands-on workshop where we'd actually meet someplace, be it the clubhouse or wherever, and actually try some of these things, bring our carbonated beverages or ice cubes or oil and water or whatever it is. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, we're going to switch off and watch the video of somebody that probably can explain it a lot better than me. I think I have to get out of Zoom for a minute and pull the, get the video up. I thought it very interesting. The last tip, don't use a knife on your lens. I don't know exactly how that would come up or what it would be, but anyways, it's still good advice. I like the thing where there was one problem I had with the whole thing. He did a lot of squatting down
Mhm.
and rocking back and forth. And I can squat down fine. I can't stand up. So it's a little bit impractical. But when you remember back that I had that list of possible subjects, there's a lot of subjects you can have that you can do inside on your the flowers or the fruit or that sort of thing. You could have a table like this and you could just put a piece of plain black paper down and you can take a picture of your vegetable or whatever it is. And you don't have to, you can either do it on a tripod or not with a tripod, but you don't have to do as much squatting down. So he had a couple interesting things. He obviously was an outdoor photographer, a macro photographer, and you can try both outdoors and indoors. I mean, right now, well, not right now because it's dark, but tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, just go out to your back patio or your front yard or wherever, and you have a little bush, and you'll probably find some insects. And give it a try. Just with your regular lens, give it a try. Try some of the inside things. I'm going to ask Flo to send this PowerPoint presentation out to you people and the membership, and that has the ideas. Also, if you're interested in macro photography, look on YouTube. I probably looked at 20 videos before I decided that one was worthwhile. A lot of them maybe not worthwhile, but it's just something that just strikes you as something interesting. So Google macro photography and you'll find hundreds of articles about it. Read some of them, but most of all, I would encourage you, take your camera, go outside or do something inside and try it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question on the,
Sure.
not the macro, on the micro. You said you need a microscope. I
Yeah.
don't, I didn't get that part.
Well, it's these strict definitions. A macro photo is one-on-one. The size of your sensor, the thing you take a picture of is exact same time. The definition of micro is the size of your sensor, and what you're taking a picture of is only 1/15 that size.
Okay,
It's a technical.
well, right, but you need above and beyond a special lens to do micro.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the question.
I mean, we've all seen pictures, be it National Geographic or wherever else, where they show these itty bitty, blood cells or whatever they might be. So that's micro photography. That's outside of my scope of interest. The macro.
Claude,
Yeah.
can you hear me now? I have
Yeah.
two questions. You mentioned a workshop for the 14th.
Yes.
Get stuff ready for it. The Jewish holidays are coming up, and you have Rosh Hashanah on the 13th, second night. May get in the way.
No, Rosh Hashanah is the first night.
It's the week before that. Yeah.
Yom Kippur is on the 15th and the 16th.
Oh.
So the 14th is really okay as far as the holidays go.
Okay, now I have a question for you, Claude.
Okay.
Technical question. I tried shooting a bug in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called a hummingbird moth. And it's about the size of your thumb.
Okay.
And it looks just like a hummingbird.
Oh.
And it flies as quickly as a hummingbird.
Good luck.
So, and I also planted, because my granddaughter loves butterflies, I put in a butterfly bush. So I have a lot of milkweed growing in the back, which
Okay.
draws the butterflies like crazy.
Yeah.
I shot at 1/2000th of a second, and I got the bug frozen in air, and I got the wingspan open with the transparent wings. It's a good shot, except he was sucking the juice out of a flower, and the flower was blurry.
Right.
What did
That's-
I possibly do wrong? I worked on the shutter speed, and I'm not sure what f-stop to go to compensate.
Yeah. That's a real problem. That just going back to sort of the fundamentals with f-stops, the higher the number, this is an f2, the smaller and smaller and smaller it gets down to the f16 is
So you've got to
it's
use a low number.
let me just finish that. The higher the number, the smaller the opening, and the more depth of field you have. So if you could take it at f16 instead of f8, you'd have a little more depth of field.
But does that compensate for the speed of the shutter?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying I should try an f16?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank you.
you could also try a higher ISO.
That would set it for everything if I did. I have a Nikon, that way you could program.
Yeah,
And if you could program your ISO to a number, set the switch to program, and the rest of the camera will be programmed to
right.
that ISO.
Yeah. That might not be the best way to go. Again, it's trial and error on a lot of things.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I generally would try and, that sort of thing, move your ISO up to like 1600. Which
ISO to 1600?
try that, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
on modern cameras, you can still get a very good image at 1600. Are we losing our new members here?
I don't know then. I don't, well, wait a second, let me see. No, they're here.
No, I meant losing them in the discussion.
Unmute. No,
Oh.
no, no. No, we were just looking, we were looking at our cameras to see the different speeds.
Okay, yeah. The other thing I would try is, I had mentioned maybe sort of a hands-on workshop sometime. I don't know, could we get back into the clubhouse flow to do things
Well,
or?
I think you can get into the clubhouse, but you have to wear a mask all the time. Why don't we, I'll put that on the bottom of the agenda for Wednesday.
Yeah,
Maybe we can come up with, a hands-on kind of a date. Because
Yeah.
we really don't want to be in the clubhouse, right? Don't you want to be outside?
yeah. We'll try and work out a date, but we could just go over to Dave Farm. There's always interesting things there. And just,
Or, you know what we could do, again, we'll discuss it. We could be in the clubhouse, but I don't know how many people will be comfortable.
yeah,
Do it like we did. Remember, we had that hands-on where everybody brought their own little setup.
yeah. That was still life. That was
Still life, yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, well, it was a while ago, but I remember, and
Yeah.
we all kind of shot our own still life.
Yeah, that was sort of neat that we could
Yeah.
do that sort of thing again with the macro.
Well, let's talk about it Wednesday and then we'll get it
Okay.
all set up.
I
Yeah.
prefer not to
Now,
go
the
into
only-
the
can I ask-
clubhouse. I prefer not to go into the clubhouse if it's an option.
Okay,
Yeah, I think a lot of people
yeah,
kind of feel that way lately. Claude, I don't know how to send your PowerPoint out. Mark, can you send that out?
I can, if you send it to me, I'll send out a global.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Make a note.
is that it? Oh, so then you can send it to me and I could send it out to the membership. I thought you meant to take it from the,
No,
the
no,
PowerPoint from this.
no.
I could send the PowerPoint as an attachment to the,
Okay, then
Yeah.
thank
An
you, you
email.
do that.
hopefully they'll let us. I can't guarantee for 100%, but I have in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Anybody have any questions for Claude other than what we just did?
I gotta tell you something, I learned a lot. I appreciate it, Claude.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna go right on Amazon and get one of those extension tubes.
I was
Yeah.
pricing it as he was talking.
Oh, how much is it?
35, 75, they have 100, different
Okay,
prices.
so that's the question. What's the difference between 35, 75, and 105?
Part of
I
it's
don't know.
brand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say again?
Part of it's the brand and the thickness and the number of rings they give you.
Try it
Yeah.
out. We have to try it out, see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want, you could find that you just flew Google meters to inches, millimeters to inches, and it'll tell you the exact number, the equivalent.
Yeah.
I believe a 90 millimeter is something like 4 inches.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just Google on Google inches, millimeter to inches,
All right,
and it'll give you
2.54
the
centimeters.
program
equals
that converts.
2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. So that's the basic.
Yeah.
Centimeters.
But it's interesting that the millimeter, one area of my life anyway, where I use metric is in the camera, you know. It's a 100 millimeter lens. Nobody talks about it being
That's a 4.5 inch lens.
no, nobody ever says that.
So I have
Uh,
a question.
Yeah,
Use much of my equipment and I have a telephoto lens. Should I be using that for this assignment?
yeah, try it. Yeah, Yep.
Okay.
yeah. The
I
one
use
thing
my
you have to do is,
telephoto lens all the time. I never take
really?
it off.
yeah,
Mhm.
Claude, with a zoom lens, what approximate focal length should it be set at to use with the extension tube rings? Telephoto or 50 millimeter?
I would say probably mid-range, 50,
Mid-range.
70 sort of thing. But again, try it.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Claude? I was distracted. What did you just?
With a zoom lens and extension tubes, what settings should you be using? Should you use the extreme telephoto or the extreme wide angle? And I said probably mid-range, but try it. The great thing now about digital is you can take 1,000 pictures.
Yeah, that's.
If you
true.
get one that's worthwhile, okay, you delete the other 999.
But the few times I've shot macro, like I said, I just kind of try and get where it's clear, because most of
Yeah.
the time, everything, no matter where I go or what telephoto I use or not, almost everything is blurry until you get to that sweet spot.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just,
And it's not, I mean, you have to balance the depth of field, the lighting factors. I mean, there's many factors. There's not an easy answer,
no.
but I think it's if you remember, I had a couple pictures of bugs that I had taken, and I thought they were okay pictures. So just get out there and try them.
They were very clear. You mean those black beetle things?
Yeah.
That you took, they were very sharp. Yeah.
Now, and if you take a picture of a lantern fly or whatever that thing
Oh, you
is.
gotta kill it.
Yeah, well, no, take the picture first, then kill it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, take a picture of the smashed lantern.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. the
Yeah.
smash.
Yeah.
it's funny. I just saw a,
They're ugly suckers.
oh, they're beautiful. Actually,
think
they
they're
are kind
beautiful.
of pretty.
I
Yeah,
think
But the
very
wing-
pretty,
But
very
Yeah.
colorful.
That's what nature did. Oh, they look nice. They're not harmful.
Yeah.
they're terrible. But my question is, I saw on Facebook, there are a bunch of people that has seen many. I haven't seen any.
Oh, we-
Where have
we've
I?
seen-
There are a lot in the.
There are a
backyard.
lot. They're all over.
They're,
the place.
they're around. I squished one today,
No.
and the other day I hit 4 in
Not by
one
my
blow,
house.
and it was wonderful. I felt like the Jack the Giant killer.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to talk about the ethics of it, but if you get a can of
Yeah.
aerosol freeze spray,
Or-
uh, you could take a bug and you could freeze it with this spray.
Oh,
And
God.
then it stands still. Now, I'm not talking about the ethics of
Oh,
whether you
that's
should do it or not.
terrible. My
If
sons
you
would
pull the
have
wings
a
off, it doesn't go
fit.
very far either.
That's funny. I don't think I want to do that.
No, I don't.
But you know what? If you said about, I can't bend down like that because you're right. I'll never get back up. But if you go out into the, like a forest, not a forest, but a farm or whatever, if you look up, there's all kinds of stuff. So you don't have to do it, at the
No, you don't.
base level. You could look up and take something interesting.
Yeah, look around. Sure.
Yeah.
Around.
But who was it that said they had a butterfly bush? Was that you, Walter?
Yes.
Okay, so we could all go over to Walter's house and take the pictures. of
Yeah, I
butterflies.
charge by the person. Yes, very close to here. There is the Audubon Society in Cranberry. It's a 10-minute ride, and they have a whole section where they have milkweed growing, and you'll get all of these insects there.
That's the
It's about a
Plainsboro
10-minute
Preserve.
ride.
The Plainsboro Preserve, is that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's in Cranberry.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the Audubon Society.
If you make
Another
that,
place I
if you
went
make
to.
that in 10 minutes, I never want to ride with you.
Yeah, well, another one I went to was on Riders Lane.
Right.
It was the Rutgers
Rikers Extension.
Yeah.
Gardens
Yeah.
there, and they also have. It's a nice spot to shoot insects.
Yeah.
I won't be shooting insects.
No, me neither. But the bushes that you see around Stonebridge, where they have the red flowers, isn't that a butterfly bush?
Crepe myrtle.
No, that's crepe
No.
myrtle.
Oh, I
crepe
thought those were butterfly bushes.
But
What are
Flo,
they're purple?
Flo, I live on the other side, and we call your side the dark side. So,
No.
but
Well, you're wrong.
but you could come over. I'll give you a passport
Okay,
as long as you've been inoculated.
Yeah.
okay, I'll bring my cards with me.
But
And just go look in the back. It's a form of milkweed. Butterflies thrive on milkweed. If you're a conservationist, put one in. That's what brings the butterflies and feeds them when they're passing through.
The spot.
The spot.
Yep.
We had that in the other house.
They're also very pretty.
yeah. Another interesting place is you go to the front of the clubhouse, the left-hand door, which goes into the gym, etc. They have some strange bushes there that attract bees. So if you want to take, again, you're gonna have to scoop down to do
Wear
that.
your keeping suit.
You
Gotta
want
be
these?
careful with
Just
bees.
go to
If
the
you're allergic
Burns.
to it, don't do it.
Yeah.
The carpenter bee is fun to try and photograph because they don't sting.
Yeah.
They don't sting people.
I
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah,
know what a
right.
carpenter bee was opposed to
If you
another.
see wasps around, there's a new variety that's coming through
Oh,
whose stinger is about 3 times as long as the wasp you're used to seeing. Because I've been chasing bugs, and some of them have been chasing me.
okay.
So, but it's fun to do.
To chase bugs?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
everybody to their own.
Butterflies and bugs.
Yeah, to shoot this moth that I've been trying to shoot. I had to sit in my backyard in the hot sun for 4 hours till that sucker came by. And then they fly in and out faster than Flo could ask a question.
Well,
One thing I've done is set up a chair on the patio very close to a bush where the bees are
Get it.
and have my camera on a monopod
okay.
and just have it rocking back and forth to get the leaves that I want and then wait for the bee to land on it. That way I'm sitting down, I'm not bending over too much.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who is knowledgeable about insects, Mel Lynn. I don't know how many of you know Mel Lynn.
I do, yeah.
Okay. He and I went shooting once, and he said, as far as you as human beings are concerned, the bugs, you're a tree, you're a brick. And the only time they know you're there is if you move. They are sensitive to motion. So keep that in mind when you go shooting.
Okay, I'll tuck that away, yeah. It's good to know.
Just be a maple.
Yep. Well, anyway, the long and short is there's lots of places that right in our own backyard to take, whether it be flowers or bushes or insects or whatever. We'll try and set something up for a little mini field trip in the next couple of weeks, and we'll work together on it.
Nice.
But the other thing is you gotta go out and you gotta take
Right.
pictures.
But it would
You gotta
be really
take
nice to do something.
You gotta take dozens of them, hundreds of them. I was completely unrelated to this. I was watching a video about Second World War, and it was a Japanese military photographer. He worked in the military, and his job was to be a photographer. And he was in Hiroshima, just outside of Hiroshima, the day the bomb went off there. And the next day he went in to take pictures. He went in and he took 7 pictures of Hiroshima, and only 5 of them could he develop for whatever reason. Now, could you imagine a scene like that and you only taken 7 pictures? Most of us take 7 pictures in a second. So you have to be
That
a
was
little,
film then.
oh yeah, it was filmed, definitely, yeah.
No.
We're taking a lot more.
It's a
Yeah,
whole different
yeah.
world.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Shit, I didn't use that.
Anyhow, if anybody else has anything to ask or do, I'd like to thank Claude. It was really fun. I'm sorry we didn't have a bigger group, but I think everybody who attended really enjoyed it.
It was very nice.
So
Thank
good.
Very good.
Good job, Claude.
Anybody wants to come and see what flies on the butterfly bush, please do.
You're gonna have a lot of
Okay.
people.
The best time to come is not either in the early morning or in the late afternoon when sun is out, and that's what draws them.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Okey
Thank
doke.
you.